Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. Guys, we're taking a look today at the top defensemen available here in the 2021 NHL free agency class. We'll be taking a look at some of those big names in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos just like this one heading into free agency, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Let's take a look at the top defensemen that may be available in this year's free agency class. So, there's a couple big names here. We're going to look at the top 5. I don't know if you guys have seen my other video looking at the top centers, but we're looking at the top defensemen today, left shot and right shot defensemen. And it's an interesting class. We could see some guys maybe get a little bit overpaid, but this is a pretty good class for the most part. But it definitely, after the first 3 guys, does get a little bit. It does lose its value a little bit. I'll get into that. So at number 5, we're going to start off with Vegas Golden Knights defenseman Alec Martinez. He's 34 years old, coming off a contract making $4 million per season. This is one of the guys I do not see getting a pay raise. He may get anywhere between 2, maybe 3.5 at max per season. Not that Alex Martinez is a bad player. I just think he's going to, because of the flat salary cap and because of his age, that will be a hindrance to him. But I still have him as a top 5 defenseman available. So maybe he does hit that 4 mark. Maybe, just maybe. But I do not see him getting back to the annual salary that he has been at the last couple of years. But again, he's a good 4, maybe 5 defenseman. Again, it depends on what team. On the New Jersey Devils, he's a top 4 defenseman, or the Winnipeg Jets. But then you talk about a team that's maybe a little bit further along, like the Dallas Stars or even the LA Kings. Imagine he comes back to LA. Maybe you don't see that happening, but it could, right? You know, there's a little bit of a different outlook there on where he could fit in your lineup. But again, for the right price, it could be worth it. Another old guy. At number 4, Alexander Edler, 35 years old. One of the older free agents available here for defensemen. He's coming off a contract where he made $6 million per season. He is the one that will not even come close to touching his AAV next year. I could see him getting somewhere between the same range as Alec Martinez, between 2.5, maybe 3.5, maybe 4, if a team has been drinking enough the night before. I just think it's a little bit of a stretch. Alex Edler, again, his age has been a problem, and we really saw him regress this season with the Canucks. But he's still a good defenseman, and he can get you over the hump. And this is a guy that, again, there's other factors involved, but Edler could be a really nice piece to a team that's trying to continue to go on that cup run, adds that veteran leadership, and if you have the cap space, is really good depth on the left side. All right, so now we move on up to number 3, and we're looking at Stanley Cup champion David Savard. He's 30 years old, so he's right in the peak of his prime, maybe coming on the downswing of that at this point. He's coming off a contract making $4.25 million AAV per season. And I could see Savard maybe getting a pay raise. I could see it between $4 and $5 million for David Savard. He's not going to get anything crazy, but he could see a little bit of an increase because of that Stanley Cup championship pedigree. He's a guy that I could see getting a big contract that may hurt a team in the next couple of years. I love David Savard. He's a great player, but I am expecting a team to overpay for Savard this summer. And that's just the state of how things are. All right, so at number 2, we are looking at Tyson Barrie of the Edmonton Oilers, 30 years old, and he's going to see a pay raise. He's making $3.75 million per season. And this is another guy I could see him getting between 3.7, potentially even close to 4.5 per season. It is high, but he is, you can argue, the second best defenseman in this free agency class. And you look at the top guy, Dougie Hamilton, he's definitely going to see an increase in his price. So you could argue that Tyson Barrie could get somewhere between $4 and $5 million next year on his next deal. But again, someone has to consider him a cornerstone to their defense. And at 30 years old, you could argue the downswing coming of his career is that something that a team wants to put themselves into. And the problem is, you sign him to a 4-year deal. That doesn't look too bad. The problem is, he's going to be 34 years old at that point. And he had a good season last year, but remember his season in Toronto the year prior was not so pretty. So you kind of wonder what's going to happen there with Tyson Barrie. I think he's an interesting player. Could he go to the New Jersey Devils, the Winnipeg Jets? There's a couple of different places we could see him potentially go. The LA Kings. But there will definitely be suitors for Tyson Barrie this summer. Definitely a top 4 defenseman. And then the top defenseman in this year's free agency draft class here for defensemen. Probably, you could argue, the top free agent in this year's class in general is Dougie Hamilton of the Carolina Hurricanes. A right-shot defenseman, 28 years old. He's making $5.75 million on his last contract. And you could argue he could get somewhere between 6 and 7.5 here in this next deal per season. Dougie Hamilton is a good puck-moving defenseman. He's got the offensive instincts. He's good for 15 to 20 goals per season. And on a regular 82-game schedule, can get you 40 to 45 points a year. But again, the defensive liability could keep him away from certain organizations throughout the league because of their defensive mindset. But there will definitely be suitors for Dougie Hamilton. And you have to assume that he is going to be getting paid this summer. And he may get overpaid this summer if we're going to be honest. There's a chance he goes back to the Carolina Hurricanes, but I think the Hurricanes are going to be firm in their number. They still have to re-sign Andrei Svechnikov as well. So expect the Hurricanes to give him a firm offer. This is what we're going to give you. If not, we'll see you later, but this is the offer we'll give you. If he decides to test the free agent waters, make more money, that could be on the table for Dougie Hamilton, and I think there will be definitely teams clamoring for his services. And that's why I'm wearing the New Jersey Devils jersey today, because I see the Devils as a team kind of like the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets and the New Jersey Devils are two teams in particular that I'm really keeping an eye on in terms of defensemen this summer. And if they don't want to give up draft picks or prospects, maybe for a guy like Ristolainen or Dumba, you could see them go the free agency route. They have the capital. The Devils have the most cap space in the entire league. And they need defensemen to play alongside guys like Ty Smith and Damon Severson. And I think a couple of these guys like David Savard, Tyson Barrie, or Dougie Hamilton, Edler, Martinez, all 5 of those guys really fit the mold for what the New Jersey Devils could use on either the left side or the right side. They've really struggled in both categories there. And I think the Winnipeg Jets are another team that is definitely going to be looking at these 5 guys in particular. Again, you could argue the LA Kings could be in the market for one of these guys. Well, we don't know what Seattle's going to be doing, but the Seattle Kraken could also be in on these guys as well. And another outside team, we've been hearing about the Vancouver Canucks wanting to invest on the blue line. I don't think they're necessarily going to trade for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, but if they decide to go a different route, they could go via the free agency route. They don't have a ton of cap space, so you wonder if they go for an Edler, Martinez, maybe a David Savard, but definitely interesting to see what the Canucks could do as well. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Leave your predictions for where you think some of these top 5 defensemen will end up. Will they end up in Winnipeg? Will they end up in Calgary? Will they end up in Edmonton, New Jersey? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And what were some defensemen that I named or that I forgot to mention on this list? Let me know down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in free agency.